Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Discworld discussion, a special Halloween treat. We are going to be discussing, Terry Pratchett's Equal Rites, a Discworld book. Here is my edition of the book, pretty standard, a little bit difficult to read, honestly, these little skinny paperbacks. The print goes way down and deep inside. I don't know why they make them this shape, these tall, skinny little paperbacks, but okay, it worked for me. You have I think, a nicer edition of the book. Is that right?
Well, it's really beyond comparison. I'm aware that sometimes people on your channel will show their beautiful books and covers, and I thought I would do the same with my book. It's roughly similar to yours. Except if you look right here, you'll see there's some special hand decoration.
Oh, yes, I see that.
Yes.
That book has been, I think someone has gotten their hands on that book. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you do that yourself?
Well, I think some very talented artists must have done it. It's
grandchild, perhaps?
I'm sure it's a hand-done piece of decoration, not a cheap factory type of thing at all.
Yeah.
And it really does add to the value. I'm quite sure. I haven't really checked that with anyone, but
most definitely sentimental value at least.
Yeah. Yes. And then the back, of course, matches the front quite well with that nice blue.
Oh yeah.
Then I'd like to show off the pages on the inside, and if you look closely, you'll see that it's a light, and may we say delicate, perhaps, delicate shade of yellow. Not at all like those really hard to read white pages you find in most books that just glare at you as you're reading.
That is true. Those are the worst. Those
are
the worst.
This is very comfortable, nicely tinted yellow. And I think this book is, with a hand stenciling or hand decoration on the front and the beautiful yellow pages, I just think it's beyond comparison.
Collector's edition. I hope you didn't pay too much for that.
Well, I think I got a bargain. I think I stole it from somebody.
Oh, you're not supposed to. This is being recorded.
Well, I did pay for it, but I mean, I think I got an extra special price.
Okay, good.
Whatever it was.
I failed to mention, maybe people have figured out, because I'll probably mention it in the title of the video, but everybody, this is my special guest here is none other than my father, Alan Chase, who is responsible not only for my love of fantasy, but also for my very existence. So, I mean, there's kind
in part,
yes, you contributed. So
I did have some help.
Yes. I think, everybody does their part. But it is really fun. I've been looking forward to this discussion for quite a while, because you are a Discworld fan. And I wonder if it's an Alan thing, because I have a good friend here on YouTube who is named Alan, who is crazy about Discworld. So maybe all the Allens in the world are Discworld fans. I don't know.
I believe he spells his name the same way, the proper way.
He does. It's the Allen, Alan. Yes.
The right way to do it.
That's the right way. Yes. What other way would you do it?
I should. there are a couple of counterfeit ways, but
counterfeit, fake Allens out there.
Fake Allens,
yeah. But anyway, I am very curious to hear you describe why. We're going to start in a non-spoiler way, so people who have not read Equal Rites can listen in for this part, and I will warn people when we start to talk about the book and do spoilers. But why do you love Discworld? What is it about Terry Pratchett's writing? Because this is my fourth Discworld book, so I'm kind of still an amateur here. So help me out. What do we love about Terry Pratchett's writing and Discworld?
Well, the obvious thing, first of all, is its humor. I don't think anybody matches its humor, at least not anything I've read. So that's one thing. The other thing is that as you know, I have developed an aversion in my old age to a lot of fantasy books because of all the pain that's there and the torture and killing off of the main characters and you name it. The thing that I like about Terry Pratchett is that that doesn't happen. There is some pain and there is some violence, but it's so ridiculous that it doesn't seem it doesn't seem real, and it doesn't really bother me as it does in other books.
Right.
And I tend to identify a lot, kind of emotionally, I think, with the main characters. And I don't want to see them killed. If they're killed, then I'm going to put the book down, and that's that. So the thing with Terry Pratchett is that the main characters are always there. They remain there. The world is safe. The characters are in charge, no matter what the challenge is. And I can read that kind of fantasy and really enjoy it and feel comfortable doing it. And those were, I thought, the main reasons that I like Terry Pratchett. I hadn't really thought about him being a good writer, because to me, the story is what's important. I can forgive a lot of bad writing if the story is good. But Terry Pratchett, you reminded me that some thought he was a very good writer, and I kind of looked at that as I was rereading some of his books, and he really is. He's a very fine writer. So I think that kind of sums it up. I appreciate his writing, the humor, the characters. The key people don't die; they're in charge. The world is okay. And I'm comfortable with Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, well, those are all wonderful reasons. Just to elaborate on the humor a little bit, I love how much wordplay there is in his writing. That's one prominent form of humor. You don't often see that much wordplay in fantasy. So he'll do, puns and really kind of awful, which means good, really, when you're doing puns, the worse they are, the better they are, if you know what I mean. He does a lot of puns and just breaks the fourth wall, goes outside the story to sort of wink at the reader and comment on silly things. And just, it's a lot of fun in that sense. You do a lot of smiling while you're reading Terry Pratchett, which is something we can all do more of, I think, smiling, right?
Oh, yeah. And sometimes his characters will give a quick answer. And there's not really been any build up to it, but all of a sudden that quick answer is just hilarious. And I don't have an example in mind, but I see that over and over again. All of a sudden something will catch me by surprise and I just start laughing and laughing.
Yeah.
And my wife looks at me and wonders what's going on and wants to be told all about it. So I appreciate that about him. He just surprises me sometimes with his humor. It just kind of comes unawares.
Yeah. My wife is often, I think she's gotten used to me bursting out laughing while reading and just sort of, oh, he's at it again,
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So anything else non-spoiler that we want to mention to anybody who potentially might be interested in Discworld? I know that it's a vast series. I don't even know how many books, 30 something, 40, whatever. There's a lot of books. And there are various series, obviously. Most people who are watching this are going to know this, but in case you don't, there are various series within Discworld, and this one is from the Witch series. Is that what it's called? The Witch books?
Yeah, and there's 5 of them.
5 of these Witch books. Okay. They begin with Equal Rites.
They're marked by the presence of, should I name her? Maybe not.
Yeah, you can say Granny Weatherwax. Yeah.
Okay. The 5 books are marked by the presence of her. She's introduced in this book, and then in the last book, she dies and passes the torch. Okay. So, but she's
that's kind of a spoiler, but
that's a spoiler of the last book, I guess, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, dear. I put my foot in it already. I knew I would screw up.
Oh, that's okay. Spoiler for Granny Weatherwax, everyone.
Yeah. But she's there all throughout the 5-book series, and she's the presence that makes it the Witch series.
Okay. Yes.
And when she does die, it's kind of natural and peaceful and good in a way.
Oh, and that's neat.
So yeah. So that's another spoiler, I suppose. But
Well, I think the main one is already out of the bags.
yeah, darn it. Oh dear.
So don't worry, I'll let people know. There's a big spoiler there. So
All right.
that we can do that here.
Okay.
So the other series within Discworld include the Death books, where Mort is the main character, I assume, and then there's the City Watch books, and there's the Wizard books with Rincewind and others. Are the which ones your favorite? Are these your favorite of the?
These are my favorite, but I have to confess I haven't read them all. And I haven't read the other series. I have read some other Terry Pratchett books, but I've got a long ways to go if I'm going to read all of them. I've probably read a third of them, I would guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot still. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Okay, so now we are going to be talking spoilers for Equal Rites. And and so everybody, this is your other warning, second warning. So we're going to be talking about this book, and particularly, I think let's begin with some of the, what do you want to begin with? Setting or characters or themes? What do you want to begin with? And the title is actually, let's begin with the themes, I guess, because Equal Rites is, of course, a pun. There we go. We're talking about Terry Pratchett's puns. And Equal Rites, spelled R-I-T-E-S, obviously a very witchy allusion there, right? That kind of right. But also, of course, equal rights, meaning, gender equality, that sort of thing. Which is obviously a very big theme in here. I was very actually taken with the way Terry Pratchett went about talking about this particular theme.
Yeah. Women have broken into what men have always done.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's reversed.
They talk about warlocks, right?
Granny Weatherwax. By the way, that's a real last name. I happened to see that on television. State troopers, and it was a woman. Her last name was Weatherwax, and I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a real name. But
that's amazing.
Anyway.
It makes me think of wax witches and that sort of thing.
I thought it was entirely made up. I had no idea someone really had that name.
I've heard of the name Weatherall before. Weather wax. Wow, that's you just the real world can be just as strange as fiction sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, so we do have in this book the idea that traditionally in Discworld, men only are wizards, and their magic is regarded by most folks as superior to the type of magic that women are allowed to do, which is, of course, witchery. So women can be witches. Only men, and preferably bearded ones, can be wizards. And that is something that is just people don't question. And it's not that everybody who believes that is mean or terrible. In fact, Granny Weatherwax herself believes that in the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She thought the wizard was making a big mistake by coming and bringing his staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And having it pass on to Escarina. Yeah. And I forget the wizard's name. He sort of figures more in the beginning than anywhere else, but he had to be a fairly forward-thinking wizard, or at least his staff was forward-thinking, I suppose.
His staff, I think, more than he was. Yeah, he felt like he'd made a big mistake.
Yeah. When we first meet him up in the Ramtop Mountains in the village of Badass, which I have to admit that made me chuckle right away when the setting turned out to be this remote village in the mountains called Badass.
Yeah.
And when the wizard shows up there, he's kind of like, bad what? And they repeat, yes, badass. And I suppose it's better than being having a village called sorry ass or dumbass would be even worse, I suppose. So Drum Billet.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Drum Billet. the wizard. So this creates a bit of a new scenario for folks. The idea that a girl, Escarina, who is bonded with this staff as the eighth child. The tradition is the eighth son of the eighth son gets to become a wizard. But in this case, we have a little girl in the role. And this is something that everybody in Badass really doesn't really have an easy time wrapping their heads around, including Granny Weatherall and her parents and her brothers. Her brothers, kind of an interesting relationship. I don't know if that reminds you of my older sister and me in any way, the brother-sister relationship in the book.
Well, there were some interesting contests that the brothers lost fairly handily once Escarina started practicing her magic on them. Yeah, she had the clear advantage, I think.
I will say I'm glad that my older sister never turned me into a pig.
No, she. I don't think she even thought of it, but well, maybe she did.
Maybe she would have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, so I thought it was fun how even her own family doubts her and she kind of proves herself. But then there's a bigger, wider world out there that, this is a coming of age story of a sort too, where you have to go beyond the little village out into the bigger world, to the big city eventually of Ankh-Morpork, where of course the unseen university is, where she is going to seek training. But of course, before getting there, there are other adventures along the way, right? Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Granny Weatherwax as a character. Okay. I really enjoyed my introduction to her very much. She's quite a formidable woman. I think it's fair to say. How would you describe Granny?
I like her a lot, but she might be hard to get along with.
It's set in her ways.
Yeah. She's committed to always doing the right thing, not necessarily the good thing. They make that distinction. She has that distinction in her head. She never even considers the possibility that she could be defeated or that anything should take precedence over her. And she assumes that when she's walking through town, if someone's in her way, she's not going to have to be the one that gets out of the way.
Right.
And she's one who she said she didn't get selected by magic. She selected magic. And she just gets what she wants, really, and she's very strong.
Sheer will. It's her will, I think, that is indomitable, right?
Yeah. Piercing blue eyes, and tall and slim. And always just in charge.
Yeah.
Just is. That's what keeps me going with the whole series. I don't worry about anything because Granny Weatherwax is there and she's in charge. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And what is she called? Brainology or something with the
headology.
Yes, headology. Thank you. Headology, where that basically, you want to explain the concept of headology to everyone?
Well, I don't think she's quite telling the truth when she describes headology. She says basically she gets people thinking in different ways that lead them to assume or to conclude that whatever it is she wants them to conclude, they do. And all it is, she says, and I think she's trying to mislead us here, but all it is her convincing people to assume her viewpoint of things.
Yeah.
No magic at all. But I have trouble believing that. I think she's kind of pulling one over on us. I think she actually is practicing a little magic here and there and not telling us.
Okay. Because not
That's
all of
why.
us have that stare. Not all of us can convince people to do what we want just by staring
Oh,
at
yeah, yeah. She even stared down the staff towards the end of the story, if you recall.
Yeah, yeah.
The staff was no match for her stare, no matter how strong and mighty that staff was, no matter what it could do to all kinds of things, to include goblins, by the way. I was surprised to see goblins when I first read the book. It's the only place they occur, is in this first book. But anyway, the staff had no problem dispensing of wolves and goblins and you name it. But Granny Weatherwax stared that staff down and made it ashamed of itself.
Not to mention the wizards in the Unseen University and bringing them around to a more sensible viewpoint, I guess,
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
issue of whether or not a girl could become a wizard.
yeah,
But she had to be converted herself first. So it's
yeah.
interesting to see how Granny Weatherwax, as formidable and solid and just daunting she can be, she changes in the course of the story, doesn't she?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can remember where or how. I think the staff did have something to do with it, because witches don't have such an instrument.
Right,
Uh,
right.
and I'm not sure, but I kind of think that her seeing the staff and how it responded to Esme, or Esmeralda. No, that's
Escarina, yeah.
Escarina, yeah.
Yeah.
How it responded to Esk is one thing that probably changed her mind. I don't know.
think so.
I can't recall.
Yeah.
Maybe you.
I feel like it happened in stages where she eventually, of course, the first step is that she agrees and insists actually on training Esk as a witch to try to deal with the fact that she's now magical. And then at a certain point realizes that it's going to take more than that. There's more going on here. This relationship with the staff is something she can't do anything about, and then she just says, she kind of just redefines her world, and then that's it. So we're going to go after this now because this is the way of it now. And she goes about, convincing others that this is the way it's going to be, that there is going to be a girl wizard.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So speaking of Esk, she is another important character in Equal Rites, and it is fun to see her development. She's a spunky kid. I like her a lot, actually.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she was a spunky kid who had no idea what kind of power resided within her, and Granny Weatherwax realized that she needed to learn how to channel it, or else there'd be big trouble for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was a normal kid, a normal sister for her brothers until that magic kind of manifested itself in her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she goes through her own doubts, even though she, like Granny, I feel like, Escarina is going to be also formidable when she's older. She has a certain will, it's kind of an innocence, or you could even say naivety on her part. But at the same time, I think this is a child who's learning about the world. There's certain, realms where she's, Granny realizes at some certain points that she hasn't been told about the birds and the bees and all that, which is pretty funny.
That is.
But she's this combination of innocent and naive, and at the same time, just also very self-assertive and asks the right questions, like a lot of kids do, right? So when she's told by the wizard, it's absurd that a girl could become a wizard, and she's why, why, right?
Yeah.
We've all seen kids ask these questions, and sometimes they make adults like us realize that it's hard to explain our beliefs, and that's maybe we should be questioning them ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, those why questions can really make us think.
Yeah. Or frustrate us a whole lot.
Yeah, both.
Depending on how many come,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really enjoyed her character's development and how she learns to deal with this really kind of scary amount of power that is put into her at this tender age. It's actually a little bit frightening, even though you're right. When I'm reading Discworld, I feel safe. there are moments in here where you feel there's a bit of peril for Esk because of this alternate world that she has, visions of, these dreams and these creatures that are coming out of the space between the stars and all of that stuff. The figments of our worst imagination or whatever, what have you.
I like Esk a lot. I was disappointed that she makes, after this book, no further appearances in the Witch series.
I was wondering about that. Yeah,
and I really wanted to see what a combination wizard-witch would do and how it would function, but I don't know, maybe Terry Pratchett decided that was kind of a big issue to handle. She does appear later on. I can't remember the other book. It's quite a bit later, and it's not in the Witch series. She makes
okay, interesting. So she does make an appearance later in Discworld. She's
there somewhere. Yeah, I don't know that I've even read the book yet where she appears again. I think I have, but it's been so long since I've read Terry Pratchett. I was kind of glad to get back into it again. Your invitation sort of spurred me on to read it, and I've been reading mostly history, and now all of a sudden I get to go back to Terry Pratchett, and I'm really glad I did.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad. But I was kind of interested too in the potential. I mean, Pratchett strongly hints that Esk and Simon are perhaps going to be a couple at the end of all of this, which is breaking some more rules for witches and wizards, I think. Right.
If that happens, yeah.
But they've already defied all the rules and the boundaries, so why not? There's
no, that doesn't come of anything either. I mean, that just doesn't happen. Although, like you say, it seems like it could or should, but poor Esk, she's just here and then gone, and then a brief appearance somewhere else later.
Well, she made a big splash anyway.
She sure did. Yeah.
I mean, no pun intended with the big flood, and everything else happening.
Oh, yeah.
That was a very big splash. Yeah.
That was a huge, The poor wizard school was pretty well almost demolished, but I guess wizards can make it reappear pretty quickly. I don't know.
I would hope so. And at least they saved the library, which is, of course, I loved how Pratchett describes their obsession with the books and how that was the one thing they all went to go save was the library, because it's a bit like people on YouTube, on BookTube, we love our books. But that's where their knowledge is and their words, and there's this emphasis on wizard magic being very word centric, whereas witch magic seems to be much more earth centric, I think. So I thought that was a fun thing that Pratchett was playing with there. But I'm glad we got to the library too, because I do love the librarian.
He's quite a creature.
One of my favorite parts was when Esk remembers to bring the bananas when she's sneaking into the library, and he's
he's quite a character. He continues throughout as well. He's always there quite a bit anyway. Yeah,
I did encounter him in Guards.
I
think his origins are explained in either The Color of Magic or The Light Fantastic, one or the other.
Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah,
pretty sure that
I think it's mentioned in this book as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's here. Yeah.
Oh, how he came to be an orangutan. Yeah.
Oh, how it happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it was fun to get back to the Unseen University, and we didn't see a ton of Ankh-Morpork, although it's funny how Granny Weatherwax and Esk take up in the shady part of Ankh-Morpork, and her talents are very much in demand, as it turns out. In what is it? Is it called the Shades? Actually, is that what they call that?
I think so. Yeah.
Again, Escarina's sort of naivete shows there as she talks about the house where there are all these young women and all these rude people are visiting them late at night and all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting how she can kind of waltz through the story unharmed with all this danger all around her.
Yeah.
And, so what?
Although she does have that encounter with the things in the other world, where she's kind of rescuing Simon there.
At the end, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very troublesome part of
Yeah.
the story, but she got through that as well.
She did through her determination. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And anything else we want to say about the themes in here? We talked, of course, the most obvious one is very much, in the title here. But
Yeah.
were there other themes in here that we should mention in passing here, besides the idea of and I mean, I don't even, not sure we need to put a label on it necessarily, but the idea simply that we ought to question our assumptions about the world and the limitations we impose on someone just because of something like their gender.
Yeah.
And this book was published in the 1980s, I believe.
Yeah, let me look.
So I'm pretty sure it was, of course, feminism had been around a long time. Yeah, 87.
Yeah.
But I like that idea that a woman, why can't a girl become a wizard? Why can't a boy become a witch? Pratchett was sort of ahead of his time, a bit of a prophet there, I think.
Yeah. Granny Weatherwax didn't seem to think that warlocks were real witches, so I'm not sure how men fared in trying to be witches. Maybe they just couldn't do it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Whereas the women actually did become wizards, or at least one did, probably more later.
I'd like to think that Granny's mind was opened a little bit there, and that maybe she would be more accepting of the notion of a male witch.
Maybe, yeah.
She certainly does loosen up the rules quite a bit. She ends up doing some fortune telling when she had told, and Esk is constantly reminding her, but you said that, and then she's like, never mind, and she's doing some fortune telling there. And it seems like she herself has a little bit of perhaps a potentially romantic relationship with the Chancellor there.
Well, that was romantic, apparently.
Yeah.
A time ago. And so in other universes, maybe they did get together. Terry Pratchett is very interested in other universes, and he kind of hints at those every once in a while. So who knows? Maybe she turned into Granny Chancellor. I don't know. At some point,
just a shadow away from our universe, or from this Discworld universe.
Yeah.
Which is hurling along through the universe on the on top of 4 elephants, which are on top of the great tortoise, Atuan. Yeah. Just heading toward something. We're not quite sure what.
Well, it's not too much different from what this world is heading towards. Who knows?
I suppose that is true. Even though ours is shaped like an orb. And theirs is flat.
There's no elephants or tortoises as far as we know underneath.
As far as we know, no one's found any yet.
We've gone to the moon, and the astronauts looked, and they couldn't find any tortoises.
No tortoise down there.
Oh,
that's kind of a bummer, actually.
Yeah.
So, well, anything else you want to say about Equal Rites before we call it a day?
Not about Equal Rites. I just want to say, as a proud father, that I'm very, very proud of who you are and what you do.
Oh, wow. That's thank you very much. Thank you very much. And as I said in the beginning, it wouldn't be here without you. So
I did have a part in that.
Yes, a very wonderful part, actually. So thank you for doing this discussion with me, and everybody. Thank you for listening in. Happy Halloween. I hope you get lots of treats and not too many tricks. And until next time.